Hello. Sorry. I'll I'll keep working on following the schedule properly. Uh just everything went a little bit slower than I was expecting. The bread took longer to toast than normal because it was a different brand. Disaster. So I have to tweet that I'm live still and then I'll get the game up. Uh, 1 second. Okay. This is good enough. Let me switch it over to the game. Alright. Here we are. Trial part 2 of case 5. We just won a summation examination again. We did it. We won the summation examination. Okay. I'm gonna have to do so many voices so fast. Okay. Well, luckily the judge doesn't really have a voice. Luckily for me. Uh, okay. The Twitter post is there. We're good. Order, please. Let us resume the proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. Ah, yes, we have the Skulkin brothers, along with the inspector up on the stand. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination? Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov, I did. That's his voice. Even though Ringo's the older one. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Gore. Blimey. This is going to be hard work. Wait 1 second, I don't have the chat open. Okay, now I do. And I think I turned off emote only mode. Yeah, we're all set here. Okay. Earlier, in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windibanks. Well, it was bedlams. That's not. Well, it was bedlam soon as, weren't it? I'm trying to remember his voice. It was, Nash. It was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out of me Lucy lockets. I'm confident I have Ringo's voice right. It was Nash. It's a little bit tougher. However, that was a lie. You brothers. Gore. Blimey. On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of the sort. How'd you figure that out? Ringo. Ringo's the weak link here. You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time, you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov. We hear ya. We'll blab, we'll squeak, we'll peach. Okay. It's gonna play an ad in a second. So I'll drink my water while the ad plays. Talk about something random. Illegal entry, the whole truth. That's what we're going into next. Well, in theory, it's playing an ad. That's fine. I can just keep reading. The ad doesn't matter. Right? Yeah, the ad doesn't matter. We'll ignore it. Illegal entry. The whole truth. Alright. We did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. I guess Nash's voice is so inconsistent. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. Lummy. It didn't half give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarfered straight into him in the back. In the black. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we? So you admit to the defense's accusation? You did indeed ransack Mr. Windibank's countertop on the night in question. Not ransack, Governor. No. That's right, Nash. That's right. It's more like we tidied up. Yeah. Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good of their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't you make us sound a bit more cutthroat? It can't just be coincidence that these men showed up at Windibank's that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Cross-examination. Illegal entry. The whole truth. Alright. We did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. Hold it! We'll press him. If that's the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, We ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good. Well said, Ringo, me old China. We only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact, now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, that's exactly what you've done. Landed yourselves in even more trouble. Well, that's rotten luck. Says the rotten apple eater. Witnesses, explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing. Right, Nash? Right. More like we tidied the place up. Sorry. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? It made us both jump and all that stuff went flying.
Hold it!
That means they didn't run immediately. So, what you're saying is... the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much, you knocked all of those things off the counter? Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright? Blimey, me dead granny would have woken up to that bang. Big Bruv's ear screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. Fell over on the counter. Why was he on the counter? He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette. What knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. You've really mastered working quietly then. What a racket. Me granny would have been scared back into her grave at a clatter like that. So his dead grandma got woken up by the gunshot, only to then be scared by all of the things he knocked over back into her grave. What a story. So, in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some.
Is that right?
I mean, it was as quiet as a mouse in there, and all of a sudden, bam!
Excuse me.
He got something to add, Inspector. Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. No. Something to add about their testimony? You seemed to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only. Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about you just tell us what's on your mind, sir? As you know, We brought these fellas into the yard for questioning last night. And the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gov. Might have. Does ring a bell now that you mention it? Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still. I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, eh, fellas? If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time. That's it. Yep. It's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Right you are, Gov. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun!"
Hold it!
So, in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously. We did, Gov, we did. Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun. Bam. Kinda thing. A career in acting tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from? Could you tell? Of course we could. From the other side of that door behind the counter it was. From the storeroom where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Windibank. On me Granny's life. Of course it was. On his granny's life. Of course it was. So, that would mean that you both knew Mr. Windibank and the sound of his voice? Eh? So that would mean what? What, Nash? What? Any ideas? Yes, Counsel. Indeed, it would. No. We didn't know the geezer. How am I supposed to deny it when that bloke in all the fancy clobbers giving us the evil eye? If you value your lives, you will ensure your testimony is accurate and true. On me granny's life, it is. On his granny's life, it must be. It's a good job his granny's dead. To summarize, then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them over the shop floor. You make it sound like we're clumsy. Don't forget we tidied up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it, the bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl.
Hold it!
You're saying that Mr. Windibank had a gun in his hands? Oh yeah, but that was a sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other must have got pretty heated. I mean, just before he shouted out, we heard the geezer say if you don't want to get shot. Didn't really sound like you meant it, mind. More of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Windibank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. His own head, mind you. I think Van Deeks has it covered. That someone being himself, of course. Of course. Good grief. Extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided. Well, he certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger that other night. Only the person he was gonna shoot beat him to it. Cooked his goose proper. Benny wished he'd squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Gimme that gun." And it was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot. It was more or less the same time, Gov. Give me that gun. Bam. Kinda thing. And yes, a career in acting very tragically missed. Then we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck. Why are they're so happy? Before everything went dead quiet. After that, we done a slapdash job tidying the place.
Hold it!
But the shooter did not. So, you didn't try to open the storeroom door then? Not on your life. Not on your life. It went deathly quiet after that, it did. Put the wind right up in me. But anyway, the door was locked, weren't it? No way that was opening. Yes, of course. It was locked from the inside. Or so we've been led to believe. It was, Gov, it was. From the inside. Right. We had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of inside the storeroom. Like through the keyhole or A spy hole, perhaps? Don't ring no bells, don't light no lights. Their secret handshake is so good. We had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. We're still cutting our teeth in this game, see? But one day, we'll really cut the mustard. Oh, I don't even know what that means. Please, cut it out. But, as we know, behind that door was the victim's lifeless body, with the accused not 2 feet away. Yes, unfortunately. Gina was in there, unconscious, with the gun in her hand. To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot in the storeroom? That's right, Gov. That's right. Couldn't have, even if we'd wanted to. We stuck everything back where we found it and scurried straight into the black. Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, yeah. We was a bit hasty there. We was, Nash. We was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when you lot turned up. If you... Iris's voice. 1 second. If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand. Good advice, miss. Good advice. Truth be told, me mind went totally blank. Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Mental note made, miss. After that, we legged it down the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or somewhat. So they clapped the darbies on us like winking. And after you'd been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah. But listen, that proves it, doesn't it? Yeah? Eh? We couldn't have shot the prawn burger. Hold it! And why should we believe that? What? Well, 'cause it's true, innit? The place was totally empty when we went in. At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused, who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these 2 witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windibank. correct. You've got it, mister. Down to a T. So the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windibank. Is that really true, I wonder? That's it. That's the full extent of their testimony. What is it, Runo? You look very fierce. Hi, Link. How's your day going? I could pour some herbal tea if you're tired. Thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh. Well, I hope you had a good lunch. And good luck with the the rest of your work today. But I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry? People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they chose. You can take all that in, and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you describe. You've concluded that there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why. That's all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think she's 10. If she's 10 years old, I must be 5. There's something wrong with... Okay, so there's a couple things that are wrong. There's something wrong with his statement that Mr. Windibank had a gun. And there was something wrong with Ringo saying that he fell... Like, Ringo said that he fell on the counter, which has to be literally... Which means he was up on the counter. What do I have something to present this? Do I present... I could present the photograph? Because Windibank... Because this gun was Windibank's. So how did he get a gun?
Objection!
You're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. Yes, Nash, yes. No question. And yet, the photographic evidence from the time of the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not in possession of a firearm of any description.
Objection!
You surprise me. Does the defense really intend to highlight evidence that compromises the position of the accused even more? Ah. Furthermore, the defense has failed to establish that the photographic print presented was taken a suitably short time prior to the victim's death. Your chronology is severely lacking, counsel. Yeah, that's right. Too right, Nash, too right. The old geezer could have been about to turn the tables on the girl, eh? Hardly likely. No, I'm afraid this won't stand as conclusive evidence. Continue with cross-examination, counsel, and heed my earlier warning, witnesses. A skulkin's never skulkin'. Uh... Can I present... Okay, let me take a look at this. The newspaper, just in case. Pawnbroker perishes in pick purse. Oh, there we go. Okay, no, I had read this already. Bigger. How? Proud pickpocket protects planet post-trial. Perhaps. Protects planet? Oh, I can't wait for tomorrow now. It's going to be so great. So the relevant part has to just be that story that we looked at on the back. Let's see. Can I get anything out of this? This is Mr. Windibank's gun. The cylinder is completely empty. Mr. Windibank always used to keep this gun to hand on his shop counter. Yes, but only ever with a single bullet loaded, I understand. That's right. To keep all the pawned articles that were in his care safe. But his one bullet was fired that night, and the poor man lost his life. Was he protecting his shop, I wonder? Trying to keep the articles safe? Okay, well, there's something that I'm missing here. Oh. You have to pop your 2 prints in here to start with, you see. And then, when you look through the eyepieces, you can see the image in 3 dimensions. The important thing is to get right. Is the position of the 2 prints. I don't know who came up with the idea of a stereoscope, but it's really quite fascinating. Oh, look at that. It's totally changed shape just from one little button press. Well, is what the button's for, Runo. You're just like Hurley. You boys love pressing buttons, don't you? Especially if you don't know what they do. Us boys? Says the 10-year-old girl. Anyway, now you can see that it really is a stereoscope, can't you? So can I... Okay. And then you look through the eyepiece. The important thing is the... I guess we just have it as a reference. I don't know. Oh! The photograph... There was no gun. There was no gun found with Mr. Windibank. If he had a gun when he was shot, he still would have had the gun. Because somehow, Gina ended up unconscious. See, because the... So... I don't know, the way that my brain is currently going, I have to think that Ringo and Nash, I clicked too fast. Ringo and Nash were hired by someone, probably by that dude from earlier who gave the fake name. They were hired to try to find the other items, like take the things that McGilded had, presumably. So the way that it's currently looking, I think I somehow have to prove that Ringo shot Mr. Windibank. Because Ringo's height is equally low, which would give you the same shot of the... Okay, sorry. I'm not reading, I'm just clicking. My brain is turning. I don't know. I feel like they could have easily knocked Gina out. And their testimony here is still wholly a lie. Okay. I have the better photograph to present. The crime scene photograph.
Objection.
So, you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. Yes, Nash, yes, no question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not holding a firearm of any description. You what? Gordon Bennett? That ain't right.
Objection!
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windibank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, that mole tooler will use the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Bam. Kinda thing.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are. Right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you've so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Goodness, are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where is the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? Wait, he was shot in the back.
Take that!
According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean at the moment of the victim's death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. But, but, it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. When he was shot up that night, the shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windabank holding a gun. Something like that. Might have slipped out. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that, on the night in question, they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash, Order, order, order. Witnesses, explain, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, it weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witnesses would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we, cut it out, Nash, cut it out. If we blab now, you know what it'll do to us. Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Bruv, come on. The game's up. But I'll have our guts for garters. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet. No matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well, do we have to? On pain of death, I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Encounter with the victim. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled my gun on him, and then he legged it through the door in the back room. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's what all happened. That's all what happened, I swear. So... you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Well, yeah. Sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well, counsel for the defense. You may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Encounter with the victim.
Hold it!
When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windibank. Who else? Sorry, I mean that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery's storeroom. Yeah, must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been. So, it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windibank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint. Okay, never mind, that works. Then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What? That mole tooler? Couldn't tell ya. No way, Cobber. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it.
Hold it!
Why was he trying... You mentioned that Mr. Windibank shouted those words in your previous testimony too. However, you claimed that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim, Mr. Windibank, wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever? Blimey lummy, a great ugly barrel he had, pointed straight at me frontispiece. So, what you're saying is you definitely saw Mr. Windibank with a gun at that time? Is that right? It is, Gov, it is. Spot on. Then all of a sudden, he came at us, he did. It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we'd had it, I mean.
Hold it!
Was he really that strong? Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony too. Well, yeah, of course we did. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette what knocked over a picture frame what knocked them scales on the floor. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the counter. Well, Big Bravier went flying over that counter like a gunshot, I can tell ya. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbroker. There's a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back out onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windibank. He did everything he could to protect his shop. Then how does Gina come into play?
Hold it!
Were you intending to shoot Mr. Windibank? No, never. I was just, you know, looking out for me, bruv, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes? And then the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him? Is that right? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off through that door and shut himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Windibank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Ginny was in there waiting for him with a gun. Ah, yes, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windibank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windibank's hands again? Did he knock her out? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency should be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and me brother here. That's right, Nash. That's right. Me and me brother here. I think you did have something to do with killing him. It sounds like he was shot as he was fleeing into the storeroom. Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov. Nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was from the inside. We know it was because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong, wouldn't budge an inch. So, in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom, with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. It would indeed appear so. What say you to that, Counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could have possibly shot Mr. Windibank? There could have been. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. What? What's that look for? From the moment that you'd admitted you encountered the victim face to face that night. The course of this trial changed completely. It did. What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Windibank? And it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. I think Ringo could have shot him. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts, so pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of two conundrums. Two, my lord. Twice as many chances to be right, maybe? Indeed. Namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord. Are you all right, Runo? I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. So, now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate where that person could have fired the gun from. So, the victim was right here, shot in the back. He died instantly according to the autopsy report. Is that correct? One to 1:30 a.m. Instant death from a single bullet wound in the upper half of the victim's back. No other visible signs of trauma. Instant death from a posteroanterior bullet wound to the heart. The bullet entered the body from the back on a gently rising diagonal trajectory. So, based on where the victim was, he was shot from here.
Take that!
The defense believes the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time? He was exactly where he died.
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windebank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So, you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled my gun on him, and then he legged it through the door into the back room. If Mr. Windebank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time. It was at precisely the moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Ah, God. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner. His report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man. Shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So, the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windibank.
Objection!
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? But... What if someone else locked the door? Yes, there is someone else who could have locked the door to the storeroom. Is that so? Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario you just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside? It'd have to be Gina, right? It's either Gina or the Skulkin brothers. They're the only people that are currently allowed to be. Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel. Her life was under threat. She just watched a man get shot right in front of her. Ah, yes, that is a tricky one, isn't it? Ryunosuke, the answer's obvious. Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that. Please. Sorry, water. But of course, Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does. Ryunosuke, you're being shown up by Iris yet again. Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh, yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windibank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windibank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Winnebank fell to the floor, where he was just inside the storeroom. And we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Winnebank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it. In order to save her own life.
Hold it!
But, I mean, we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov, we ain't. You've gotta believe us. I mean, come on. We'd never shoot no one. But they 100%, they shot someone.
Objection!
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would. Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There's only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Winnebank's murder. Well, nah. Where does that leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the gent? I should have known it was those three brothers. The third brother. That was amazing, Runo. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know. First time ever, and probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not. An admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing? You find... Sorry. You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zieks. I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. I dare say. Such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial Eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pettifoggery here. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly, credibly, cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. The issue is, evidence shows there's only 2 bullets that were fired at the crime scene. One from the Skulkin brothers' gun, presumably into Mr. Herlock Sholmes. The other from the defendant's gun, killing the victim's gun, killing him. So, Unless we can find evidence as to what happened to allow for a third shot to have been fired. That theory does not hold. A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you're unaware of your logic's failing? I say, Lord Van Zeeks, might be an idea to explain this bally conjuring trick, or whatever it is, the troops on the ground, to the troops on the ground. The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. By George, count bullets. Oh dear. He noticed then. Huh? What's everyone talking about? How are you this clueless, Ryunosuke? Counsel. Yes, sir. Tell the court how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime. 2. 2 bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, on his arrival at the scene. Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appears to have passed through his body and to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding is correct. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windibank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. Excuse me. I'm a little sleepy still. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness. I think you'll find that if a single bullet that was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Sholmes, Windibank not shot by same gun. Stop. Only 1 bullet. Stop. Exactly. Yes, this Nipponese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Uh, ah. Order, order, order. Every time, every time. You're gonna get sued for that one, Fan Seeks. Fan Seeks. You're 100% getting sued for that one. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hollowed nectar into the public gallery. Lord Van Seeks. But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can regrettably no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond a doubt in this print which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilda's down to the yard. Thank you very much. No, don't. Don't give it to him. It's mine, that is. Mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. Yes, that music box disc. McGilded's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Windibank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly does not belong to her. And with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence. Good gracious. Make no mistake. Any sympathy for the accused on the account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril. I see. I think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence, counsel, as a grim testament. Uh, um, Lord Van Zeeks, Inspector Gregson, what? Yes, Inspector. We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service, and, I think it was agreed that the disc wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That's the first time he's said anything to Van Zeeks at all. I am unaware of any such meeting. But, but, those were instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord. Indeed, bailiff. The music box disc has been entered into the court record. So, the prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. So, we have to test the blood on the disc. There's something there that might break it open entirely. There is nothing more to add. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. Okay. Disc. The blood color. I need to know, Iris. Oh, Runo, look. This is blood. Yes, you're right. Just a small smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before. Haha. Then it's my time to shine again. I thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with that disc, Runo. Can we get this done quickly, Iris? In a flash. What? Oh, a lovely bright shade again. Wait. That color. What is it? It's just that green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? for McGilded. For McGilded. That's the man you defended in court a couple months ago, isn't it, Runo? Yes, or rather, mistakenly defended. I wonder what his name is doing on the back of this disc. That is a question I'd love to know the answer to myself. We've got it. We've proved there was someone else at the crime scene. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all of 5 minutes. Oh dear. It wasn't even for 5 minutes, Runo. My lord, I wonder if I might say something at this point. Proceed, Mr. Foreman. Been stumbling about in a bit of a fog up to now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden, the answer's bally obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. No. Please, let me present my evidence first. Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you will present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability.
Guilty.
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 No, I want to get to the blood on this. There was someone else there. That shady dude. We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That's my line. I wrote that for Hurley. How dare he use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think we're finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing I'm absolutely certain of. Also, I want pictures from the other camera. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windibank. That's beyond any doubt. Very well. We'll proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? Gardev Squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. Here we go again. The jurors' contentions. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look at it, it was the pickpocket. I never imagined that such a simple operation would cause me such grief. The accused attempted a theft on previous day. I can see I'm in for a busy day ahead. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. It would seem there's little remaining room for doubt. Have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. But when that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more. The whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Iris. That prosecutor's being mean. Just because Ginny's done some things she shouldn't have done in the past. That doesn't make her a murderer. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out eventually. That's enough preamble, counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. Okay, I think here is where we're gonna break this open. I'm guessing that the old man doctor was Mr. Sholmes' doctor. And I'm guessing that the bullet didn't actually pass through Mr. Sholmes. And we'll be able to get that detail from the doctor. Which means we can place a third bullet at the crime scene. One that shot the mystery man whose blood is on the disc. One who shot the victim. And one who shot Sholmes. So there's a third gun more missing here. Because the mystery man got away without anyone noticing. The defense's rebuttal. I don't know, we're not even gonna bother with Gerdeb. This is our opening. It's the number of bullets that has you convinced. Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although... Yes? Sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like the fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So, I suppose, if there was another bullet somewhere, of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position. A third bullet somewhere on the scene. I can prove it. Allow me to show you then, the third bullet. I have all the evidence I need for this argument, but I probably don't. We'll try it. I'm obligated to try it, even though I'll get punished for it. It passes for a bullet as much as you pass for a lawyer, my learned friend. Coming from you, I'm going to take that meaning not much. In no way does it resemble a bullet, if that helps your understanding of my last remark. Counsel, at the very least, I would expect the evidence you present to be of the correct form. It's been a long day. Let's actually attempt to find this bullet before we attempt that again, Reno. Oh, Questhev. Because we're about to place someone else on the scene. Exactly. Then you can see the scene in 3 dimensions. So, if we have the 2 bullets, I don't suppose you can see anything useful with them. I think you'll find. But no matter how much you squint, the truth of the situation always looks the same here. The only person who could have shot the victim is that girl in the dock. How can you be so sure of that? Think about it. The Skulkin brothers shot the great detective, didn't they? Yes, that's been mentioned once or twice. Well, then, surely it's coming into focus now, isn't it? This is a waste of time. I'm not going to change this man's mind anytime soon. Alright, Doc, give me the goods.
Hold it!
Give me the bullet. Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here. Well, the thing is, I couldn't really say that it's nothing to do with this trial, to be honest. I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet simply... There's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It's quite inexplicable, don't you think? I almost don't want to ask. But this surgery you've been muttering about all this time, you were operating on... What was the fellow's name? Herlick? No, Herlock? No, Hairlock. Herlock Sholmes, by any chance? Yes, good lord. It was that Hairlock fellow. What? You're the surgeon that operated on Mr. Sholmes. I'm surprised Sholmes is still alive. That's right. Using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It was a fairly major op, I can tell you. This is crazy. Let me see. The fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw my hands up and just stitch the fellow back up. I hate to state the obvious, but yes. Surely that's because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting. The counsel for the defense is correct. And this is clearly shown in the photographic print. The bullet that the Skulkin brothers fired at Mr. Sholmes hit him in the stomach region, then exited the body, lodged into the shop wall where the calendar was clearly hanging by the door. I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem 3-dimensionally. Who do you think I am, son? Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do, sir. As soon as I saw the man's stomach, I flipped him over. Like a pancake. Are you saying you checked his back? Of course I did. And there wasn't a trace of injury. No sign that the bullet had left the body at all. And here we have it. The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere inside the man's innards. Which is exactly why I set about slicing him up. And I'm still none the wiser even now. How many times do I have to say it? Can somebody please explain how it happened? Can somebody please solve the mystery? It's almost as much of a mystery as how this jury was put together. Where's the expert when you need one? Ballistics expert.
Hold it!
Tell us, Mr. Russian revolutionary. I thought you were just a tourist. Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take a bus to Crystal Tower, please. There's no way he's just a visiting tourist. So you're a ballistics expert? Who knew? I have much experience with guns. I have lived through many, how do you say, extreme, violent baths, no, blood of, extreme, violent bloodbaths, perhaps? Those extreme, violent bloodbaths. English is a very difficult tongue. Considering the sort of people you associate with, I'm surprised you still have a tongue. Anyway, if you have a question about bullets and guns, you ask me. There's nothing I do not know. No mystery I cannot solve. He's very confident in his knowledge of guns, that's for sure. But, if possible, please, only in Russian language. He's not very confident in his knowledge of English, though, is he? No, still, we should bear it in mind. He's our man, if there's a mystery about guns or bullets. Van Zeeks has managed to convince everyone. When you have eliminated the impossible, he said. But he hasn't. If we're gonna fight back, we need more material. And we have to fight back. We have to turn this trial around again. Pit. Alright, Mr. Gun Expert Revolutionary Man.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict. The idea that all I do is pit jurors against each other. Oh, a ballistics expert. Pitting P-I-T-T. On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers. But, since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Villain. Pleased to meet you. This apparent contradiction in the facts that is so clearly troubling jury number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night. There was blizzard. I was running away along mountain road in freezing cold. Golly. The snow was piling high on both sides of the road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles, and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind, and I fell down in snow. And the situation was very similar to what I hear today from doctor. They could not find bullet in my body, and no sign of, how you say it, exit wound. Then, where did the bullet go? Bullet never hit me. Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down? What? Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? Oh, shrapnel! One small piece, very sharp, broke away from lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looks just like bullet wound. Of course, piece of ice quickly melted inside me, and that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullet. But that doesn't answer the question at all. The shooting happened in a pawnbroker's shop, not some snowy mountain road in another country. Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here. Bruno, where exactly was Hurley shot again? Well, according to the report, in his stomach, sort of around this area, I think. Well, that's precisely where. He always wears a little pouch on his belt. A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that. Yes, a pouch. It's where he keeps 3 glass vials of very dangerous chemicals that he uses in his investigations. What? Really? Doctor, where's the pouch that Mr. Sholmes was wearing? Well, the fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital, as far as I remember. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks. Well, I realize it is forbidden for the prosecution to interject during a summation examination. I should inform the defense that I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry. As I understand it, When the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound. Ah, thank goodness. I thought I was getting forgetful for a moment. Since then, it has been in my safekeeping, along with all other evidence relating to the case. I can personally vouch for the fact that it has not been touched since the incident occurred. Very well. While extremely unconventional during a summation examination, I must demand the prosecution presents the item in question with all speed. Bring forth Mr. Herlock Sholmes' pouch. Here we go. I see. So, this is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it? Look at that. One of the files is broken, and the leather around it is scorched black. It's almost as if the file exploded. So, that night, the bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch. And it was the glass file exploding that caused the fellow's injury. This bullet did not penetrate victim, but was deflected into wall of shop. A delightfully complex aroma. Well, it would appear one mystery has been solved at least. Though it has no bearing on the truth of this case. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective, and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remain unaltered. But at least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. Thank you, young man. Da. Thank you very much. Glad I could help. Due to its bearing on this conundrum just solved, the court will sequester the scruffy pouch as evidence. Hurley's pouch isn't scruffy. Sholmes's pouch has been entered into the court record. Now, the summation examination. It would appear the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion. Please, my lord, a little more time. After all, that's a new piece of evidence. It could be a valuable clue, and you can't afford to overlook anything here, Ryunosuke. There's still a way to turn this around, somehow. I'm sure of it. Is the third bullet lodged inside Sholmes's pouch? Is it in there? Even if it isn't, if it was deflected, it still hit someone else who was at the crime scene. Never mind, the bullet's right there. Oops, can't find anything out of place. This file has been smashed to pieces. Presumably this is where the bullet struck. As soon as the bullet hit the chemical in that vial, there would have been a really big explosion. A big explosion. Well, Hurley's potions and chemicals are amazingly useful for the investigation work he does. But they're also quite tricky to handle, safely at least. They're very dangerous. Oh, I'm sure that when the file broke, the chemical inside would have ignited. Note to self: always walk on the right-hand side of Mr. Sholmes in future. The left is the danger zone. Oh, okay, I have to examine it from here. It's really scorched badly just here. Oh, the strap is broken. Look. This must be where the bullet hit then. Let me see. A bullet. What the? Iris, look. Behind where the broken file was. Do you see it? Ah, that's the Skulkin brothers' bullet. What a stroke of luck that it hit his pouch. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is there were 3 bullets fired at Windibanks that night. We found exactly what that juror was talking about. The 3rd bullet. It's time to press that juror again, I think. We've got it. See, I knew Sholmes had the 3rd bullet. Hurley always turns up at just the right moment. Does he always come in the form of a pouch? Seriously though, it sounds like the great detective was on death's door. But maybe his injuries won't be for nothing. That pouch could be a very valuable clue. Well, have I got something for you? The 3rd bullet. Wait, how do I... I press her. That's how I get it. Ba-ba-ba. Number of bullets. I can prove it. I have the bullet now.
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question in Windibank's pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired.
Hold it!
What is this new trickery? You Nipponese conjurer. Where did you find that bullet?
It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes' pouch.
What?
This pouch was removed from around Mr. Sholmes' waist before he was taken to hospital. And since then, it has been touched by no one. Do you mean to say the shot fired by the Skulkin brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch. But that makes no sense whatsoever. We already know the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Sholmes. It's clearly visible in this photographic print. The 2 guns from the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Windibank, and that belonging to the Skulkin brothers. And examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each. But that must mean... That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene. And until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. Hi, introvert. Doing well. I'm sleepy today. Where the pieces are starting to unfold. This trial will only get more and more complicated. A little bit, but it's fine. Perfectly well enough to stir you. Oh, I just hit it. No, that's fine. I bumped the mic. No, it's just because I was up late. Order! 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 Well, this summation, well, also just like, I don't know, for some reason doing the voices for this game also makes me more tired. Because it's a lot of energy. While this summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which the case against the defendant has been built. As is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination. By Jupiter! Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once. And I know who was at the crime scene. Besides these 2. Witnesses. Governor. Were you listening to the proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination? We was, Governor, we was. Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble. Simply answer this one question. A 3rd bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gov? I don't make nothing of it. Is it one of yours? Gar blimey, Gov. Gar blimey. Not a chance. In that case, did you have an accomplice? What? Hey, what? Never. The Skulkin brothers work alone. It's just the 2 of us. That's our trademark. How soon we forget poor Sulky. Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The 3rd bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Lummy. That's an head scratcher. I mean, they're working for someone under threat. They've admitted to that much already, but they won't tell us who. It's probably the other guy that was there who got shot. Counsel for the defense. Yes. I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments, the third bullet, and the mysterious missing firearm, from whence it came. Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard, and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear what this third bullet tells us about the Skulkin brothers. They had an accomplice. On that night, at Windabank's pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been working with a third man. The witnesses are clearly doing their best to cover up the existence of this accomplice. But the evidence all points to the fact that there was someone else present. Someone carrying a gun.
Objection!
An accomplice, you say? I know who it is. Pigswill. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. Yet, in all that time, there has been not a murmur of a third man, if this apparently wraith-like being exists. The court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed. The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence, that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. And secondly, the identity of this spurious character. The Skulkins are lying. I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding? Excuse me. Well, counsel, I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice and reveal the person's identity even. In response to the prosecutions, I'm ready to present answers. I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference. In that case, counsel, I would like to ask you present evidence without delay on the night in question and the moments leading up to the death of the victim. What proof have you that there was a third intruder present at the scene?
Take that!
The evidence is right in here, in this portfolio. By Jove, that portfolio again, is it? Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific.
You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of this third intruder. Well, which one is it?
This one, sir.
That!
What am I looking at here? This appears to be some green painters, such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar. That's a bloodstain, my lord. A bloodstain.
Green blood. Curious, even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature?
It's something developed by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. By the great detective. New invention. Stop. Not yet appeared in stories. Stop. It's this, you see. It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with the different elements in people's blood to change its color. Different elements of people's blood. Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it's made up of different elements. So, by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Oh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of blood in courtroom. Stop. Very exciting. Stop. As an example, this one shows the blood of the victim, Mr. Windibank. Ah, a striking blue. Yes, so you see, the green color of this bloodstain on the calendar shows that somebody else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now, hold fire there, young man. Could be from some unrelated incident, couldn't it? No, it's not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windibank was killed. By golly. Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day. Then whose blood is it? Well, the Skulkin brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be the blood of someone else. The third intruder, in fact.
Objection!
Whose identity? The court is still waiting to hear. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged intruder? Egbert Benedict. Sir?
Take that!
The man's name is Egbert Benedict. Egbert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, Counsel? He paid a visit to Windibank's pawnbroker on the afternoon before the incident took place. When the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession. That's right. The man identified by the defense is Mr. Egbert Benedict. The then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. Broker? Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you. No. Yes. The article in question belongs to me.
I demand for it to be returned at once.
Now, that's a lie. What are you trying to pull?
Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box discs, too.
Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc. Can you corroborate this account, Inspector?
Yes, my lord. That's more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Windabate for a print showing the fellow. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder gubbins.
Yes, that's him talking to Mr. Windibank that morning. And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Skulkin. Never seen that geezer before in my life. On me life, Gov. On me life. Never seen them. Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion.
I'm sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice.
Yes, and I can. Then, show us the evidence. I agree. We must see proof that the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal you say he is. This is the last piece of evidence. I've had a feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start. But now, I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom. Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, counsel? Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in this photographic print was, in fact, the person struck by the third bullet. Do I have to present it from the portfolio? Wait, let me see. I do.
Take that!
I probably could have presented the disc. The proof is right here in this portfolio. Good gracious, counsel. Does that portfolio contain the answers to every question posed?
I see. You share my interest in claret-colored liquids, my Nipponese friend. But enough. The court demands to see further evidence. Which blood sample proves the man you identified was the one shot by the third bullet at the scene of the crime?
This one,
Take that!
conveniently placed at the start. As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windibanks, which is when the aforementioned Egbert Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no? That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this that a minor incident occurred. But of course, sir. Here is the disc for you. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell.
say goodbye to style. Wait a minute. That disc is mine. What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Being a music box disc, it contains countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions caused Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed, and the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now. Goodness, a bloodstain, is it? My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom, using my trusty fogger gun. Yes, and we've added the results to this portfolio. I say... It's green. It's exactly the same color as the blood around the counter. The evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Eggert Benedict, who was in Windibanks earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night. So there was someone else there. Look at those two brothers now. Oi, who are you talking about? It's boiling in here. My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Eggert Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify. It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection!
This has gone on long enough now. This flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Herlock Sholmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes. A god of deduction or some such. And now you sorry. You employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court of the land. Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. Okay, 1 second. So, the bloodstain turned a shade of green. What of it? Here's to your successfully proving that no other blood in the world would ever turn the same color. Well... And pray, do not even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it. Is he right? Is Mr. Sholmes' concoction a load of rubbish? I don't know, he's the great detective. What are you talking about? I knew it would come to this. Of course, Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But
What other choice do I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before about how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination. Ah, in other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it? Good grief. What did you just say, young girl? And in a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So, the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention. At least, not for now. Yes, she's right. Young lady, you have quite the devious mind. It really just comes down to one thing. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Runo. Is that about right, would you say? Or did I misunderstand something? Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with. Iris Wilson, sharpshooter. After that shrewd practice of the situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination has yet to reach its conclusion.
This is absurd.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for your final leanings in this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I'm sure you will come to a fair and just conclusions. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
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 Not guilty.
Barely. We barely managed it. Two, calling guilty. And 4, call not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination.
Objection.
My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision.
On what grounds?
If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt.
I'm sorry, Lord Van Zeeks, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. This trial will continue.
Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible. What? The name the gentleman gave for himself, Eggert Benedict, is clearly quite false. I don't believe it. Just when I'd managed to prove the man was there that night. Could I say something? Who was that, please? Who spoke? I thought it was one of the witnesses. It was me, my lord. Juror number 5. What have you to say, madam? If possible, Inspector. Me, ma'am. I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again? The one in which the gentleman is shown. Ah, right. This one you mean? Of Mr. Benedict? Yes. There's no doubt in my mind. Juror number 5, you don't mean to say you know this man? Yes, I know him. What? No. Good gracious. Order. 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 Juror number 5, how on earth? I am a communications officer. Stop. As we can clearly see, the gentleman in the photograph is stop. Also a communications officer. Stop. He works in my office. Stop. A very talented operator, in fact. Stop. He should be in the communication station now. Stop. Tapping away on the telegraph. Stop. This doesn't seem right, somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it doesn't feel right. I suppose we all imagined the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out that he has a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up to at night. Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong. If the gentleman is at London's communication station, we should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zeeks, if you please. Yes, my lord. Make the necessary arrangements with all haste. As your lordship bids. The court will recess for 1 hour. Excuse me. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson? Yes, my lord. I should like to hear from you specifically about events at the pawnbrokery on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess. Yes, sir, my lord. Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m. To be continued.
All right. We've made it to the end of this part. So I'm probably going to be wrapping up my stream here. And then, I'm not sure what I'll be streaming tomorrow, to be honest. It might be more of this game in the evening, but I feel like I want to stream something else. So, I don't know. I'll figure it out and I'll post to Twitter beforehand at least. I'll also post in the Discord what game I decide to stream beforehand. Because there's a few different options, you know? Well, more than a few. But yeah, anyway, thanks everyone for sticking around to watch for a while. Hope you're enjoying the game as much as I am. And I'll at least be live again tomorrow night. Probably not with this game, but maybe. I don't know, I'll think on it more. But yeah, anyways, hope you all have a good rest of your day. Or night, or whatever, however time works. And I'll be live again sometime tomorrow evening. Well, 8 p.m. I'm repeating myself now. See ya!